There is a certain consanguinity, a nearness of blood, that joins every soldier who ever wore the uniform of our Army. Even so, a special closeness exists among those who wore the uniform during time of war. With so much in common, yet each of our war veterans has his own story. Each war is framed against a historic backdrop unique to its time. This is nowhere more evident than with our Vietnam War and its veterans. The origins of the Vietnam War came during one of our history's most dangerous chapters. Following World War II, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union resulted in a nuclear proliferation that threatened to end civilization as we know it. Radiation fallout shelters were built all across America, and grade school children rehearsed what to do in the event of a nuclear attack. Fear was prevalent. Far away, on a remote peninsula in Southeast Asia, the French were fighting a revolutionary force in Vietnam. They were fighting to stop the spread of communism. Our American president agreed with their assessment. As the French lost control in Vietnam and began their exodus, the United States began to fill the gap. With the ideological competition spreading around the globe, year by year, the Soviets were becoming ever more emboldened. In 1962, they moved nuclear weapons to Cuba, literally holding a nuclear weapon to the head of America. So much brinksmanship was unnerving to the American public. Situation by situation, our nation worked its way through these dangerous challenges. All the while, communism looked all the more threatening. Thus it was that we embarked to stop the spread of communism on a far and distant peninsula in a very different part of the world. The domino effect, as it was called, had to be prevented. The deadly threat of communism had to be curtailed, or America itself would be in danger. Step by step, we entered the Vietnam War, first with advisors and later with units. Growing from a nominal force in 1961 to more than 500,000 troops by 1969. Our efforts in Vietnam extended from 1954 to 1975. We had a presence in Indochina for 21 years. How soon we forget that Vietnam is our longest war. More than 58,000 Americans gave their life for this cause. More than 1 million Viet Cong did also. The Vietnam War was a grueling fight in jungle terrain, pit against an ethnic, tribal backdrop in a highly committed nation-state. It featured every type of warfare: conventional, asymmetrical, guerrilla, insurgency, civil, ethnic, and religious. And, although not a term at the time, terrorism was widely practiced by the Viet Cong. The conflict caused traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder, way before these injuries were even terms. Our soldiers in Vietnam fought long and hard to keep hope of victory alive in Vietnam and to halt the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. During this conflict, 248 Medals of Honor were awarded, and more than 200,000 Purple Hearts were earned. While our soldiers served selflessly in the harsh conditions of Indochina, our country struggled with its own demons at home. In 1963, America suffered the unthinkable, the assassination of its young president. This event fomented fear, anger, and frustration. The 60s were unique to our history. There were so many political subplots. Everyone seemed engaged. There were so many movements. The sexual revolution, the hippie movement, drug experimentation, and the Jesus movement followed one upon the other. The movies, music, and art were all aflame with politics and revolution. The future of our nation seemed to be in peril. During this very self-critical period, Americans took a hard look at civil rights in America and did not like what they saw. The civil rights movement produced many great leaders and made much progress. However, it was laced with protests and sometimes violence. The country was growing, it was evolving, but the process was painful. Never more so than in 1968, when our nation lost two great leaders, Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy. As our country mourned the loss of its heroes and dealt with fear, frustration, and dissension, our Vietnam veterans continued to support and defend our nation. These soldiers continued to do their best in the worst of circumstances. As the war drug on and became ever more unpopular at home, some Americans lost their way. They began to blame the individual soldier for the war itself. Such was a backdrop of service in Vietnam. Yet the Vietnam veterans held the course. Their selfless service stands as a great testament to their patriotism and commitment. During some of America's most challenging times, when it appeared that even the nation itself had turned its back on them, they continued to serve admirably. Their example of selfless service sets a high bar for all future generations of soldiers to emulate. Their demonstrated fortitude and courage provided a great example for the soldiers of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Soldiers know that no other war veteran demonstrated more conviction and character than the Vietnam veteran. Against every sort of challenge, they stood strong. When it appeared that their patriotism itself was under fire, they did not surrender. Arriving back home without fanfare, they went to work to contribute in their communities all across America. Their contributions to public service have been sublime. No group has worked harder to ensure that our current war veterans are provided for and treated with respect. The Vietnam veteran, our American heroes. Their service mattered then, it matters now, and it will always stand as a great example for our country. To the Vietnam veterans, thank you for your exemplary service. Welcome.